Have you ever wondered what happens when a web of lies finally unravels? What if the person you trusted most was living a completely different life behind your back? Today, we're diving into a story that's more tangled than any soap opera. A story about love, betrayal, and a shocking revelation that changed everything. It all started with Sarah and Mark. From the outside, they were the perfect couple. They'd been together since college, built a life, a home, and shared dreams for the future. Mark was a successful architect, often traveling for big projects, while Sarah was a freelance graphic designer who worked from their beautiful suburban house. Their friends envied their seemingly flawless relationship. But as we all know, appearances can be deceiving. Lately, something felt off to Sarah. Mark's business trips became more frequent, his calls less so. When he was home, he seemed distant, always glued to his phone, which he guarded like a top-secret document. Sarah tried to dismiss her growing unease as insecurity. She'd tell herself, "He's just stressed with work. I need to be more supportive." But a little voice in the back of her mind wouldn't stay quiet. The breaking point came one Tuesday morning. Mark had just left for what he called a critical week-long conference in Chicago. As Sarah was cleaning his home office, a place he usually kept locked, she found he'd forgotten to secure it. Curiosity got the better of her. She wasn't looking for anything specific, just tidying up. But then she saw a small leather-bound notebook tucked away in a desk drawer she'd never seen him use. Her heart pounded in her chest. This was it. It was the moment of truth. With trembling hands, she opened the notebook. It wasn't filled with architectural sketches or meeting notes. It was a journal, and the entries detailed a life she knew nothing about. Mark wrote about his weekends, not in sterile conference rooms, but in a cozy little house in a town just 2 hours away. He wrote about Sunday morning pancakes, trips to the park, and bedtime stories. He wrote about a woman named Emily and their daughter Lily. The words blurred as tears streamed down Sarah's face. A daughter? A whole other family? The man she had spent a decade of her life with was a complete stranger. The loving husband she thought she knew was a ghost, a character he played when he was with her. The pain was a physical blow, knocking the air from her lungs. But through the haze of shock and betrayal, a new feeling emerged. Cold, hard resolve. She wasn't going to just sit and cry. She was going to find the truth. The notebook had an address. A small house on a street named Oak Lane. The next morning, Sarah got in her car and drove. Every mile was a torment, her mind racing with 1,000 questions. Who was this Emily? Did she know about her? Was she a victim in this too? Or a willing accomplice? The 2-hour drive felt like an eternity. She finally pulled up to Oak Lane. It was a quiet, picturesque street, the kind you see in movies. And there it was, the house from the journal. A charming blue cottage with a white picket fence and a swing on the porch. It was a perfect family home, too perfect. Taking a deep breath, Sarah walked up the path and knocked on the door. Her heart was hammering against her ribs so hard, she thought it might break. The door opened and a woman stood there. She had warm, kind eyes and a gentle smile. She was holding a baby, no older than a year, who was babbling happily. "Can I help you?" the woman asked, her voice friendly. Sarah's own voice was barely a whisper. "Are you Emily?" The woman's smile faltered slightly. "Yes, I am. And you are." "I'm Sarah," she said, her voice gaining a little strength. "I'm Mark's wife." The moment those words left her lips, the color drained from Emily's face. Her friendly expression crumbled, replaced by utter shock and confusion. She looked from Sarah to the baby in her arms and back again. She started to tremble, her hand shaking so much she had to grip the doorframe for support. His wife," Emily stammered. "No, that's not possible. He told me his wife passed away years ago in a car accident. That's why he was so broken when we met." And just like that, the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Mark hadn't just been cheating on Sarah. He had constructed an elaborate, cruel lie, playing the role of a grieving widower to start a new life with an unsuspecting woman. He had manipulated and deceived them both. He had a wife at home who thought he was on a business trip, and a partner and child in another town who believed his wife was dead. The two women stood on the doorstep in silence, the weight of his betrayal hanging heavy in the air between them. They were strangers, brought together by the lies of one man, Emily, still trembling, invited Sarah inside. The baby, Lily, looked back and forth between them with wide, innocent eyes, completely unaware of the storm that had just broken over their lives. Inside, sitting in the living room that Mark had described so lovingly in his journal, the two women talked. They weren't rivals. They were allies, united by a shared sense of devastation. Emily shared how she met Mark at a support group for people who had lost loved ones. He had been so charming, so seemingly heartbroken, and she had fallen for his story completely. Sarah shared her side, the decade of marriage, the growing distance, the gut-wrenching discovery. As they pieced together the timeline of his deception, they realized the true depth of his cruelty. His business trips lined up perfectly with his weekends with Emily and Lily. His late nights at the office were calls to his other family. He was a master puppeteer, and they had been his unwilling puppets. In that moment, they made a decision. They were not going to let him get away with it. They were not going to let him continue to destroy lives. They formulated a plan. The next time Mark was scheduled to come home to Sarah, Emily would be there waiting with her. A few days later, Mark walked through the front door of the home he shared with Sarah, dropping his travel bag and calling out, "Honey, I'm home." He walked into the living room, a tired smile on his face, ready to slip back into his role as the devoted husband. But the smile froze on his face. Sitting on the sofa was Sarah, and next to her, holding their daughter Lily, was Emily. The color drained from his face. He looked from one to the other, his carefully constructed world collapsing around him in an instant. He opened his mouth to speak, to lie, to explain, but no words came out. There was nothing he could say. The two women he had deceived were sitting there together. His lies were exposed. The confrontation was quiet but devastating. There was no shouting, no screaming, just the cold, hard truth laid bare. Sarah and Emily, with the strength they found in each other, told him it was over. Both of them, they refused to be victims of his games any longer. They had already contacted lawyers. They were taking back control of their lives. Mark was left with nothing. He lost both families, both homes, and any shred of dignity he had left. The story serves as a powerful, if painful, reminder that the truth always comes out, one way or another. And for Sarah and Emily, while their lives were irrevocably changed, they found an unexpected bond in their shared experience. They supported each other through the difficult process that followed. Two strong women who refused to be defined by one man's deceit. They chose to build new futures, not on a foundation of lies, but on a foundation of truth and resilience. What do you think about this story? Could you ever forgive a betrayal of this magnitude? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story compelling, please give this video a like and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.